Hey YouTube, how's it going? So, it's time for a Strat shootout, which is one of the things I wanted to Strat. This week, I'm putting it up against this Washburn Force 3. So I've already done this, quick run over. This is a 94 or 95 according to the serial number. Japanese Fender Stratocaster fotoflame with some damage on it, that's how I can afford it. The pickups weren't in it, so this has a DiMarzio DP stacked single coil. It's got a gold Fender lace sensor in the middle, and it's got a 74 Fender Strat pickup in the neck. Got a trem, don't have a trem bar. I'll need to sort that out. There's actually a trem bar broken in the hole, so I've got a kit to take it out. I haven't done it yet. I'll wait till these strings get old because they have to come off. Rosewood fingerboard, 7 1/4 inch radius fretboard, slot tuners. You adjust the truss rod in here. Not really much else to say. So neck pickup. Just in form. Middle pickup. Just in 2. Bridge. So that's the Strat it's going up against. I've done videos this recently, so you know this one. That's why I'm being really quite quick with it. In this video, I am using my usual Laney VC15. I'm playing through the 3x12 cabinet. The pedals I'm going to use, I'm using none just now at all, no effects on. I'm going to use the Joyo US Dream for a bit of sort of heavy distortion, and I've got my Washburn Stack in a Box pedal to back out. Big Washburn fan me. Yeah, so going up against this, which you can argue, is it a Strat or not? It kinda sort of is. You'll recognise this from being that's a Force 8, which is the bass. This is a Force 3. There is also a Force 2, which I have 2 of. One has 1 humbucker in it, and one has 2 humbuckers in it. But it's basically the same sort of guitar. This one is a 1982, so this is actually made by a company called Yamaki, who made the Washburn Wing series. They were like a sort of ridiculously high-end guitar factory, like a really small one, not like your Matsumoto's and your Fujigens and stuff like that. You know, we're talking about a 50th or 100th of the amount of guitars they produced, sort of thing, per day. Well, this has actually got strap locks on it, or strap lock buttons. So this must have had strap locks on it at some point. I don't think that would be an original feature in 1982. Yeah, so maple fingerboard this time, which is there's quite a lot of things that skew this towards me, and also the price of this. I kind of bought this by mistake. It's one of those ones that I don't find it that interesting to look at. This one's been pretty heavily modded as well, which obviously affected the value, but I bid on this. It's one of those ones you bid on just anyway. You know, I'll never get it. You know, bid on it. Was going. I think it was at work when it was ending and stuff, and it's like, I'll just stick something on so somebody doesn't get it for £1. Do you know what I mean? And ended up winning it, and I think I paid 60 quid for it. Something stupid, which I wasn't really expecting, and I think that's one of the reasons for me not really getting that into this guitar, is what's happened quite a few times. That was I was maybe waiting for another one in the post, or I'd just bought another guitar that I spent money on that I wanted, and this was a sort of well, I'll see what happens, and I bought it, and then because I'd already had a new guitar that week, or I maybe got it the day later, this never really got looked at properly. Yeah, so this one should have a Washburn harmonic lock bridge, basically just a hard tail, but at some point it's been replaced with a Wonder Bar Series 2 screw holes. A Wonder Bar is a Washburn 80s thing that was meant to be better than a Caller on a Floyd Rose, because you didn't need to route the guitar, so it was like a big massive, looked like something out the Wild Wild West. You remember that film? Sort of steampunk thing that actually just sat on the top of the surface of your guitar and was sort of like a Caller or something like that, or not as much like a Floyd Rose, more like a Caller, but they didn't have to route the guitar to take it. I do have one of them in my BC Rich, and these holes line up perfectly with it, so that's basically exactly what was on this. It's been back to being through strung again. I assume the Wonder Bar must have been bolted on with these holes that have been filled in. Yeah, so I think this might actually be a Telecaster bridge. It's got like sort of like a Fender bridge maybe, or Fender saddles, because it's got, you know, it's got wee grooves on it as opposed to having one or two. It's got lots of, how do I describe that? You hear that? You know, it's like, it's not two grooves for the two strings, it's like 10, or it's like so it's like a bolt almost, in fact. That might be actually what it's made of. It might be made out of, you know, like a bolt that they've cut, drilled holes in it, and then, but I've never really thought of that before. I made a mess of wire in it, of stringing it up when I did it, but hey. These pickups are not original, I don't think. Well, one of these two might be. This one definitely isn't, because I just put it in last night. I actually took out a Seymour Duncan IBR pickup, which is apparently a broadcaster pickup. And it's like, you know, if you do the sums when you start buying when you buy some things on eBay, and it's like, it's got a Seymour Duncan broadcaster pickup in it, and I paid £60 for the guitar. So like, how much did I end up paying for the guitar? Don't know. But this here is a Bill Lawrence L. Is it L? Something 250/T for Telecaster. It actually says it's like a blade, and it's got Lawrence. If you hold the light right, it says Lawrence, and it might actually even say Bill Lawrence. No, it just says Lawrence. Does it? No, it just says Lawrence. Like in the actual mould, it's got a sort of textured top, you know, like old car dashboards used to have. Probably not modern car dashboards, you know, that sort of stuff you can kind of rub your finger. It was kind of made of that, but it's got Lawrence in it. Quite high output. I think it's some sort of well, I'm pretty sure it's a stacked pickup. I don't think it's not wired as a humbucker inside. It's just a sealed unit. It's just got two wires coming out it, but it seems to be noiseless. So I think it's a noiseless pickup, or however it's been done. I think Bill Lawrence was a bit of a, well, I know he was a bit of a sort of Madden Ranger type guy, kind of like one of my heroes perhaps. In the bridge, a Telecaster bridge. These pickups are, I don't think they're anything special, but the only reason I don't think they're both original is because they're different sizes. This one's actually, looking at it, is smaller than this one. At some point this guitar, you can see it there, see these extra screw holes. I think this guitar had 3 Telecaster bridge pickups in it at some point. Must have been a good idea. That's a phase switch, 5-way switch, blah blah blah, Strat. And the big difference here really, that's a Telecaster headstock maybe, and it's got the bullet truss rod, my favourite type of truss rod. These holes will be from when I had the Wonder Bar on it. Good quality Washburn tuners. They'll be Goto built. The main feature of this guitar, I don't know if you can really see it there. This is a deep V neck, and if you look at it, see, you can. I think you might actually be able to make it out there. The centre of the V is not in the centre of the neck. It's an asymmetrical neck, which I have heard of before. I believe Slash's Gibson custom model, you know, the thousands of pounds one, has an asymmetrical neck. The idea being there, it's like you want it shorter on the top for this bit of your hand, and then longer on the bottom to make it easier. I've since found out that Yamaki did asymmetrical necks. It's the same as the ones that are on the Stage series. And the reason they did them asymmetrical was because the machine they used was burst, didn't work properly. So it's like, you know, they made necks like a kind of, when you use a key cutting thing, you stick your key in one side and kind of follow it, but kind of a duplicator it might be called. Apparently the Yamaki one was a bit wonky, so they came out asymmetrical and they just left it that way, which isn't really, it doesn't sound like it's the super high end guitar thing. I don't think it was something that wasn't noticed. I bet you it was noticed immediately, and they went, "Oh, that's really good. We'll keep that. That's a feature." You know, when they first set the machine up. Yamaki are one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best guitar factories to come out of Japan. Much smaller. I think they've like 30 employees, or there's 30 people in it. I think that might have included the office staff. So when we're talking small handmade guitars, not like even the other Japanese stuff, your Fuji Gens and all that. Yamaki much smaller, handmade, made by, well, there's only 30 people in it. You know, it's like one of them will probably be a painter, so they're probably made by the same people. Yeah, so I'm a big Yamaki fan. Yeah. So did I start with the bridge on the last one? I can't remember. So bridge pickup. It's actually a stacked pickup. The DiMarzio and the Strat's a stacked pickup, so that's kind of works quite well with a comparison. Position 2. Middle pickup. That switch is very long. I think these pickups, you can actually, they've got magnets stuck to the back of them, so I think that makes them ceramic. I don't know. I think it maybe makes them not as expensive. Normally expensive. The more expensive pickups don't have a magnet stuck to the back. You know, the actual pole pieces are magnetic, are made of Nico or whatever it is. Instead of just being steel with a magnet stuck to the bottom. Just 4. Oh, no, that's position 5. That was position 4. And if you've been watching me the last couple of weeks, or since I got the Squire Bullet, which is now through next door, I was all over the moon about the fact it's got a 7.25 radius fingerboard. You know, it's like a curved vintage style, all because actually I got gauges a couple of months ago. They were like £1, you know, for these things. So now I've got the ability to check what what the radius of the fretboard is. And I thought when I bought the Bullet, it was like that. This is the first, just as amazing. The curved fingerboard, pure vintage, feels amazing, brilliant. And then it pure blew my mind. I was like, totally, love that. And this was only like a couple of months ago. And then a couple of weeks after that, I got the Blazer. And I was playing it, and it wasn't until I restrung it after weeks after I'd built it and been playing it and done videos and stuff. So I'll see whether this is like a 9.5 or the 10.5, and it wasn't. It was a 7.25 as well. It's like, all right, okay. So I've got another one. It's got a 7.25. So is this one 7.25. So there you go. For some reason, I noticed it on the Squire Bullet. It must have something else. So 7.25 is maybe not quite as rare as I thought. I wonder how many other ones I've got sneaking about. So 7.25 inch radius on the surface, but the deep V neck. The Toblerone / deep V is a strange feeling neck, but it feels amazing. The thing is, what it does is it makes it, although it's actually quite thick, you know, from here to here, see when you're at the edges, that's really thin because it's V-shaped. So when you're at either end, your finger on the back is really close to the front, and the same when you're playing up here. So it feels really, really thin. It's like significantly thinner than any guitar. And I'm including, you know, Ibanez Wizard necks. They feel quite thick when you get to the edge because they're kind of like just like a plank of wood. You know, they're almost square, they're rectangular, whereas this is pure whoa. So by the time you get to the edge here, it's really, really thin when you're playing like this, which is really nice. And I don't really know why it hasn't caught on. I think maybe people are scared of it. I don't know. There should be more guitars that have V-necks, so more people can get to try them. I suppose it's a sort of Telecaster headstock, and I like this sort of go fastery stripe thing. Yeah, so I'll put in a wee bit of a... I've not really decided, I don't know what these two are going to sound like. I've not played them both through the same amp or anything like that yet. It doesn't really feel as much like a Strat because it's almost more like a Tele. It doesn't have the contours on it at all, actually. So it's kind of, sort of... Well, it's got a Tele bridge on it now, which it shouldn't have. So Tele bridge, sort of square, sort of Tele headstock. So it's kind of maybe a bit more Tele-y. It's maybe more like a Nashville Tele or something like that. Though it does have the scoop. Stick in some sort of track to play along with. This is actually the second attempt at the video. The first attempt at an atrocious track I can play along with. So I'll just try and stick to my E. If I put it in B minor or something like that, and I can't really play very well on that. So. simple. Can't get much simpler than that. Neck. Fat after that one now. There's still the neck pickup trying to slip between them. Just in 4. This is going to take forever to switch between them. So middle pickup. Middle pickup. Gold lace sensor. Two even. Position 4, 2, position 1, bridge pickup and so on. Yeah, so that's me. Compare both all the sounds together. I don't know how much fun that was, may never do that again. I'll take the guitars on not so much, and now I'm on the bridge pickup. Just not using some distortion because we're the box pedal. Position 2. Middle. The other distortion pedal just for a wee blast. That sounds better for this particular guitar. It'd be very difficult to switch back to the lower distortion level when I go back to that guitar in 10 seconds time. Bridge. That's the Joyo US Dream pedal. Back to the stack in the box. Bridge pickup. Middle. 4. Nope, so that was 4. This is the middle pickup. This switch obviously isn't very accurate. Middle. 4. Switch to the US Dream pedal. to, having to choose between the two, which one wins. Let's be honest, there is absolutely no way that this, if you go by the prices that these are worth, it's like, well, I got this for like 60 quid or something, and I saw one of these for like 600 or 800 or something, so there's absolutely no competition at all in that. You're better off with this, and then having £600 worth of booze to drink while you're playing it. But it's kind of hard. It's like they're both different. There's definite plus points to each one. The Strat has it in the kudos and the looks. I mean, everyone knows what it is. It's a Strat. Assuming you've got one that doesn't have, say it's just black, right? Doesn't have the fancy top on it. It's a Strat. Everyone knows what a Strat is. It's the most like a Strat of a guitar can be because it is one. So it's kind of what you expect. It does have the funny pickups in it. So it's got like £300 worth of pickups or something stupid. I can't remember I don't know how much are lace sensor worth these days. A lot anyway. It's got a £300-400 scratch plate on this particular guitar. It's a really nice rosewood. The rosewood on the fingerboard is brilliant. It's a high end. Japanese are good at making guitars. It does have some issues, but the issues are more actual stratocaster issues. It's like much better having the bullet truss rod up here than having it take the neck off to adjust the truss rod. But they knew about that when they built this. This was built to be like a vintage one, a 60s one, someone told me, so it's a 62 or something copy. This it's got the problem with having to put an elastic band above the nut, otherwise whenever you hit a G note it would just go bing and harmonically vibrate on one of these strings. I think it was a G chord. When you hit a G chord on this, you kind of went and then muted it, it would just go bing and just keep ringing, which is quite annoying when you're sitting in the house playing, but I mean, imagine at a gig or recording, that's really, really annoying, so you need to do that. There's not really other issues with a Strat. Strats are kind of thin. I actually saw someone was talking about a guitar the other day. It was a Washburn Stage Series. They did an A10, which is 2 humbuckers, and then someone had said, I've got the same one in same colour, but it was an A15, which has got the 3 single coil pickups in it. And the first guy's like, I'm not good enough to play with single coils. It's like you show up mistakes too much, and it's like, well, maybe that's kind of why. Maybe now I'm getting better at the guitar, or more used to it, and better at playing. So I sort of agree with that. It's like you get away with less. They always sound sort of thin and rubbish, sort of, unless you're able to play them. So I think if you're starting out, maybe I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work if doesn't necessarily apply if you're clean. I think you have to be more accurate with the single coils and a Strat or a thingy. Right, so this one has plus points. This one, it's got the one-piece neck, which is my favourite. The V neck. Basically, it's a better neck. It doesn't have this vibratory problem. It's got the truss rod. The tuners on it are better, but I quite like those ones as well. It's got better high fret access because obviously, if I can't remember whether it was a video I gave up on, but basically you can see it's bolted on here. Was this one I was talking about screws and bolts? Don't know. So this is a bolt on neck, as in these two at least. They obviously come in here. These are actual bolts, not screws. They've got like a nut on the inside to hold it on, rather than just being a screw on neck. I think there must have been a discussion at the start when they were doing the Telecaster, the very far broadcaster, whatever it was called, the first Fender. It was that, yeah, so it's got a screw on neck, and it's like, can we change that word to bolt on? Because that sounds an awful lot more stronger. And it's like, yeah, but it's not a bolt, it's a screw, it's a wood screw. It's like, yeah, but let's just use the word bolt anyway. So it's stuck, but this one's actual bolt. Better high fret access. I'm a huge fan of Washburn guitars, especially of this era. This is an 82. There's a little bit of digging in. I've got a poster up there. That's from 84 when they changed all the names about, but they also changed the factory. So it's Tushin started building them round about then. In about 1980, by 1984 they were definitely all Tushin. In 1982 they were Yamaki. In 1983 they could be either. I tend to think that's a Yamaki one that says 1983. Don't really know. There is a difference because the Force 2s that I've got 2 of them, the ones with humbuckers in them, are not as well built as this one is, and they're from 1984, I think, or one of them's from 84. I can't remember what the other one. One of them doesn't have a serial number on it. This is a higher end thing, so if you're going by build quality, alone. But this is the problem I had when I was comparing the Fender to that Ibanez Blazer. They're both built by the same factory, so they're basically, it's like, which of these two models of the same guitar do you like better? Really, because they're both made by the same person. This built better. So this is a better built guitar. This is really going to be a really unpopular. It's a better built guitar than what Fujigen can do. Basically, not talking about specs, just the actual build. It's better, handmade and all that in a very, very small batch. Don't like the colour. It's got lots of dents and holes in it. I'm not sure if I would never have put a Telecaster bridge in, but it's got a Telecaster bridge, so that's fine, which kind of makes it a sort of hybrid, I suppose. Never actually used showed you the. So that's it. That's position 2 out in phase. That's it, out of phase. In case your Strat wasn't twangy enough. I think that sounds good with a fuzz pedal actually. Does sound pretty good. I'm going to play this guitar a little bit more. So once I've mastered the swirl painting a bit more, I think I might swirl paint this one. I'm just not a big fan of black guitars, plus because there's also quite a lot of damage here where someone's tried to fill in gaps from where the underbar was and the bridge. It's a bit grotty looking, so I think it might just transform it if I gave it a psychedelic dip finish. Or I keep thinking about painting it yellow. Now it's got white pickups, I quite like it. And I think maybe just in this last year I've maybe grown around a bit more to the sort of Fendery way of playing, where you've got the slightly longer scale length, the thinner pickups, and the general cleanness and slightly harder to play aspect of it. Can't get over how weird it is playing. I've got an A15 Washburn, which has got a very similar neck profile to this. It probably means it's maybe the same person. And it's such a strange thing having the V when you're playing near the edges of the fretboard. As in, it seems quite a fat neck when you're playing like the D and the G strings, but when you're on the B and E, it's pure thin, and if you're on the E and the A, it's really thin. So it's kind of like a funny one. Very, very comfortable V neck profiles. So I mean, I suppose in a shootout, I would argue that it could take on. There would be a personal preference thing. This is better built. Is on paper probably a better guitar than the Strat, but the Strat is a Strat. Everyone likes a Strat. It's worth an awful lot more money, even if they were both made by the same company at the same time and were identical in every way. But this one looked like this and said Fender on it, and this one looked like this but said Washburn on it. The Fender one would be worth twice as much. Washburn didn't actually make Strats, or not in the golden era. They didn't make Strats. This is their take on it. Kind of the same thing with what Westone did. It's like they had the Westone Thunder, which was a sort of Les Paul type thing, and then they brought out the Concorde, which was the sort of Strat type thing. So Washburn did the same thing. They had their Wing, which was a sort of Les Gibson-y type thing, and then they brought out the Force, which was a sort of Fender-y type thing. There is one in the middle, which I've not got yet. There's a bass you can get, which is it's actually still in the Wing series, but it's that shape, and it's neck through. So it's like that's the first Force. Wasn't called a Force. It was actually called a. I don't even think it was called a. It was in the Wing series. It was called like a. It's got a crap name. It's like an SB40 or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, great name. It's not a Force 3. But or a Falcon, or a it's like they just gave it a number, which isn't as good. So have a wee look at these if you can pick one up. If you can get one from 82 or 83, they're better than the ones from later on from 84, 85. But when they do show up, they're not expensive. I mean, I know I said I paid 60 odd quid for this, but even there was one that was on for about a year, which looked pretty much the same as this, apart from slightly better condition. It was 150 quid, and it was on eBay for a year. And nobody bought it. Just like idiots. It's like, I'm sure you're going to pick up a Japanese Fender Strat for 150 quid. You know, it's not happening. So I suppose the downsides of this would be it doesn't look like a Strat. Arguably, do you want the belly contours? I don't know. See, I'm a bit of a telly player anyway. It does have it is more rounded than a Telecaster is though, so it's not quite as, but it does feel fatter and more telly-ish. The neck seems like the neck's closer to you. The head, the first fret seems to be closer, but that might just be because the scoop's deeper, so the neck looks longer. I mean, it's the same length as a Strat. I'm assuming it's exactly the same length as a Strat. I tried to do this yesterday. It's difficult to get them both at the same height. I really need to put something. If I could stick them both on the bottom of the screen, bang. Oh, not as easy as I said it was going to be. So if I stick these both on the bottom of where the camera cuts in, yeah, I would actually argue the Fender. It's really difficult looking at yourself in the mirror trying to lift up. It's like, I need to lift up the black one. It's like, nah, they're both exactly the same size, aren't they? Really, it's just the scoops. You can see that the top horn on this one is slightly bigger than this. I'm pretty sure that that's not the case with the basses. I think that P bass pretty much fits that. Yeah. So they're in the shootouts. It comes down and it's like, yeah, I suppose you could argue you do get this one with a tremolo, which it doesn't have just now, and that one the tremolo doesn't work. Well, I need to put a bar in it, so that one does have a. So you get this one with a trem. Also, I should note that the strings on this are probably 3 years old. Elixir's though, whereas that's got modern roto sounds, so it might make a bit of a difference. But I think now I'm into Strats. I'm going to have a look out and see what other Stratty type guitars I've got. I've got quite a few that I don't really like because of that whole. I think maybe just because I'm so used to humbuckers. Even though, or maybe actually I think I maybe get coerced into it by putting coil splits in everything that possibly took coil splits. Just like any humbucker I got, I coil split it and then started using it because it was a switch. And I think maybe that's what's brought me onto the single coily Stratty Fendery type thinking. I should say that the later on, saying about the build quality of the 1982 or possibly 1983 Ford Washburns is better than later on. When they did go to later on, the Chushin plant, Chushin are kind of like Matsumoku or Fujigen. They're still really high quality and really good. It's just Yamaki are a step up, being the sort of handmade and pure, ridiculously detailed and, you know, very, very expensive woods. This one's been hacked about like mad in the inside because it used to have Telecaster pickups, and someone's been in at it with a chisel in the 80s. I mean, that's why it was cheap, because it looks pure awful. It's a very, 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 very good guitar. If you can find one, go for it. I'm not looking for any more Force guitars, so I'm not bothered telling you how good they are. It's like that's the way I can do it with the Wing series as well. I've kind of got all the ones I want. Still annoys me the fact that the Force 2 with the 2 humbuckers, the Force 3 with the 3 pickups, and then the one with 1 pickup still called a Force 2. I wish that was a Force 1. That would be the thing I would change. That's a really nice guitar as well, but not quite. It's not as high end feeling as this. Just it doesn't seem as expensive, because it's not this. It's not the same. Not this Yamaki factory. Yeah, so rock on. And my pal was saying, my pal who helps me run the channel a bit was saying, what you're trying to do is you're trying to show people what the point of your channel is to show people what guitars you can get really cheap that are really good. And it's like, oh, not really the point. It's just really what I like. So it is all a personal preference thing, because I mean, I do understand that a lot of people wouldn't even look at that. They would just go, bleh. Kind of looks a wee bit like a Fender lead, maybe. Not that much. It's got longer horns, but I can see why people, well, no, I need to have a Fender Strat. It's like the kudos of that is far more valuable than how good the guitar is to start with, because it's a Fender Strat. This is not a Fender Strat. This is an obscure. It could be anything. If you don't know what you're looking at, this could be anything. And anyone who can play the guitar would pick it up and go, oh, this is something special. What's this? I didn't think Washburn were good. Washburn, and again, always going about this, the factories, Washburn area, even Westtone, a lot of guitar companies were amazing in the early 80s, and then something to do with the yen and exchange rates and something else, and they realised that, hold on, why are we making these pure amazing guitars and selling them for half the price of like the Gibsons and Fenders, when they're better guitars of the era, when we could, the bean counters come in and they were like, well, why don't we just move to Korea, and instead of making pure amazing guitars for like half the price, why don't we just make ones that look good in a picture, and we'll make them in Korea for a quarter of the price and then sell them for the same price as these ones. Hey, I mean, they didn't get cheaper. This guitar would probably cost the same as that one, which was cheaper. Then when you move on to Korea, like 4 or 5 years later, but can't get to late 80s, the guitar still looked the same, and it's like, I still get the same model number, not this particular model, but other ones, and it's like it costs. Never mind. I don't just mean labour wise. I mean material wise. They started using plywood and just basically like somebody suddenly realised that actually it doesn't really matter how good the guitar is. Why we can sell them now. Very like a conservative government. Actually, it's like we just get money now, money tomorrow. But what about next year? That's somebody else. I'll have retired by then. So it's like basically just try to grab the fast buck, and it pretty much ruined a lot of guitar companies, their reputation. Because if Washburn had basically just ended at Japan, they would be very highly regarded guitars. But instead, they kept going. I mean, they still make good guitars now. They're still running, and they're good. They're just they did go through a stage of producing not crap, but 90s guitars. A lot of them aren't necessarily very good. They were very, very much trying to hit a price point. And I think the price point was that, okay, a basic guitar, I think it's pretty much the same style. The cheapest guitar you get is like 100 quid, something like that, 120 quid for like a, and it's, the thing is that in the 80s, the cheapest guitar you could get was like 120 quid. And it's like, alright, so it costs the same now, 30, 40 years later. And it's like, pure, I wonder how that is. And it's because they cost a tenth as much to build, or less than that. It's like, the same thing happened with I was talking about the SG there the other day. When I bought that, I think I paid I don't know say what I paid for it, but a couple of years later the new ones came out, the faded SG, and it was like they were only like 500 quid or something like that, and it was like, or 450 quid, so it was like, that's pretty much almost what I paid for that, and it's new, and that one's all dented and stuff like that, and then he played it and he went, alright. So the way they managed to keep the price the same over a 10-year period was they made the guitar much cheaper. So they had their target point of, this is a £500 guitar, so there you go, a £500 guitar, and then it's like per couple of years later, exchange it. We don't really want to raise the price of the guitar. We can keep it at 500, and we'll not use ebony anymore. We'll not do this. We'll just basically just cheapen the whole process. That's how it works. What a rant! Another 45 minute. Rock on. 2021 has been good so far. I think I've been out of the house once, twice. What's the day? The 4th. I think I've been to the shop twice. That's about it. Need to get if anyone's got a guitar that I've got money for. Another Trade Tuesday starting up. Tomorrow's Tuesday, isn't it? I don't have a guitar for Trade Tuesday, so Trade Tuesday season 2 isn't starting yet. But I'm on the hunt for something to start it off. I don't know what I'll do this time. Try and get a Les Paul ready. Rock on. Oops. Off.